What if one photograph didn't just spark another royal debate, but reopened one of the most emotionally charged mysteries surrounding Princess Diana's legacy? One quiet image, one protected location, one decision that has left royal watchers asking questions that refuse to disappear. For years, the world was told that privacy inside Britain was impossible for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Every movement, every appearance, every visit supposedly risked becoming front-page news. But then something happened that completely flipped that narrative upside down. A family visit remained completely invisible, until the moment the images were released voluntarily. That contradiction has become the center of an intense public conversation. If privacy truly existed all along, why reveal the one moment that had remained untouched? And why did it happen at one of the most protected places connected to Princess Diana? Those questions continue to fuel debate, and every answer seems to create an even bigger mystery. The location itself is why emotions exploded almost instantly. Princess Diana's resting place has long been treated as deeply private. Charles Spencer transformed the site into an isolated sanctuary after repeated attempts by intruders to reach the grave. Access became extremely limited, with the surrounding water acting as a protective barrier rather than simply a landscape feature. It was designed to discourage visitors and preserve peace. Because of that history, the appearance of photographs from such a restricted location immediately caught the attention of royal commentators and online audiences alike. The discussion wasn't only about the photographs themselves, it quickly shifted toward the obvious question: how was access arranged, and under what circumstances? The images became less about what could be seen and more about everything that remained unseen. Then another layer entered the discussion. Reports suggested that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle moved through the United Kingdom without attracting public attention. No widely circulated airport photographs. No obvious paparazzi pursuit. No continuous tabloid coverage documenting each step. For many observers, that appeared to demonstrate something unexpected, that complete privacy had actually been achieved. And yet, instead of remaining entirely private, carefully selected images later appeared publicly. That sequence immediately divided opinion. Some interpreted the release as a personal family decision. Others questioned whether it represented a carefully managed public narrative. The photographs themselves became secondary to the larger debate surrounding timing, intention, and public messaging. The timing only intensified those discussions. According to the source material, the photographs appeared shortly after Prince George's birthday portrait had been released by William, Prince of Wales, and Catherine, Princess of Wales. That coincidence immediately prompted online speculation, with some commentators asking whether the overlap meant anything at all, while others argued it was simply unfortunate timing. The source notes that some observers believe similar overlaps have happened before, though those interpretations remain matters of public commentary rather than established fact. Even so, the conversation spread rapidly because timing inside the royal family is often examined with extraordinary attention. Every calendar date becomes another clue for people trying to connect events that may, or may not, be connected. Perhaps the most talked about element, however, wasn't a photograph or a date. It was silence. Charles Spencer, known for protecting Princess Diana's resting place over many years, did not publicly address the images after they appeared. That absence of comment quickly became part of the public discussion. Some observers interpreted the silence as evidence that permission had existed. Others wondered whether the visit itself had been approved but the publication of the photographs had not. The source does not establish either conclusion as fact, but it explains why the unanswered questions became so prominent. When expectations of a public response go unmet, speculation often rushes in to fill the gap. Attention then shifted toward Prince Harry himself. The source points out that in Spare, he described the island as intentionally protected and difficult to access. That prompted some commentators to compare those earlier descriptions with the later images from the visit. Others noted that an earlier family event at the same location reportedly produced no public photographs at all. These comparisons became central to online discussions, though they remain interpretations drawn from publicly available events rather than proof of any hidden motive. The contrast nevertheless encouraged many people to ask whether public approaches to privacy had changed over time. As debate intensified, another historical comparison emerged. The source notes that Buckingham Palace had previously released an official image connected to Queen Elizabeth II memorial, leading some commentators to argue that not every photograph involving a royal memorial automatically violates tradition. Instead, the discussion focused specifically on the unique arrangements surrounding Princess Diana's resting place and Charles Spencer's long-standing efforts to protect it. That distinction became an important part of the broader conversation, reminding audiences that context often shapes public reaction as much as the images themselves. Then came perhaps the most emotional reminder in the entire story. Two young children were shown carrying flowers during the visit. Whatever debates surrounded timing, privacy, or public messaging, the source emphasizes that those broader questions belong to the adults, not the children. Even so, the release of carefully framed photographs, showing no faces and offering only partial views, generated further discussion about whether the presentation balanced privacy with public curiosity. For some, it reflected protection. For others, it raised additional questions about why the images were shared at all. As the questions kept multiplying, another comparison began spreading across public discussion. Prince Harry himself had previously described the island in Spare as a place intentionally designed to remain protected and difficult to reach. That detail suddenly became impossible for commentators to ignore. Online discussions quickly drew a contrast between those earlier descriptions and the later family visit. Supporters argued that a private visit to honor Princess Diana was entirely appropriate if permission had been granted. Critics, however, questioned whether the public release of photographs changed the meaning of what had originally been presented as a deeply private moment. It wasn't simply about crossing a stretch of water anymore. It had become a debate over consistency, privacy, and public messaging. The same location. The same history. But now, two completely different interpretations competing for attention. Then another historical comparison surfaced. The source points out that when Prince William, Catherine, and Prince Harry attended a private rededication ceremony at the same location in 2017, no images were publicly released. Years later, photographs from a different visit entered the public conversation. For some observers, that difference represented changing attitudes toward privacy. Others argued the situations were too different to compare directly. Either way, the contrast became another talking point that fueled discussion across social media, television panels, and royal commentary channels. Once those comparisons started, they refused to disappear. But just when it seemed the debate had reached its peak, the story took another unexpected turn. The source also notes that Buckingham Palace had previously released an official image of Queen Elizabeth II memorial stone without creating similar controversy. That observation complicated the narrative. If memorial images had been shared before, why had this particular release produced such a different reaction? According to the source, the distinction centered on the unique protections surrounding Princess Diana's resting place rather than a universal rule against photography. That subtle difference became one of the biggest talking points because it shifted the discussion away from photography itself and toward the specific circumstances of this location. Another layer emerged as different reports painted completely different pictures of the visit. While the released photographs presented calm surroundings and a quiet family moment, the source says there were also reports describing broader tensions and security concerns surrounding the trip. Those accounts were not resolved by the images themselves. Instead, the photographs became part of a wider public conversation in which different narratives existed at the same time.